Dave Bing was a great basketball player for the Detroit Pistons. While he did not finish his career with the Pistons, what he did for the franchise was certainly noteworthy. He could get to the rim. He could make really awesome passes that not very many players could probably see. And he was part of the original top 50 players of all time in 1996. In this video, I am going to be talking strictly about Bing's career with the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to be talking about his ranks in Pistons history and some notable seasons and games that he had for this franchise. Dave Bing got into the Hall of Fame class of 1990. He was a 7-time All-Star and he made 6 All-Star teams with the Pistons. His other All-Star game came during his time with the Bullets. He made 3 All-NBA teams with the Pistons. He made 2 first-team All-NBAs and 1 second-team All-NBA. Bing won Rookie of the Year in the 1966-67 season, and it got him an All-Rookie first-team selection. Now, in terms of his ranks and averages with the Detroit Pistons, please keep in mind all of this is strictly in terms of Pistons history. He played 9 seasons with the Pistons from 1966-67 through 1974-75. His 22.6 points per game are second. His 6.4 assists per game are 4th. His 4.2 rebounds per game are 4th among guards. He averaged 1.4 steals per game, but steals were only recorded during the last 2 seasons of Bing's time in Detroit. He shot 44% from the field and 77.1% from the free throw line during his stint in Detroit. Bing's 15,235 points are 4th in Pistons history. His 4,330 assists are 3rd. His 2,828 rebounds are 2nd among guards. And his 4,789 free throw attempts are 2nd in Pistons history. Now, I decided to note that because Bing actually did draw a pretty decent amount of fouls. And he was consistently in the top 10 in the NBA in terms of total free throw attempts. Now, in terms of his playoff averages with the Pistons, with a minimum of 10 games played, his 21.8 points per game in the playoffs are 2nd. His 6.3 assists per game in the playoffs are also 2nd in Pistons history. And his 3.8 rebounds per game are 7th among guards during the playoffs. Now, in terms of some notable seasons and games that Bing had, again, all of these ranks are strictly in terms of Pistons history. Bing's 7 seasons of averaging 20 or more points per game are 2nd in Pistons history. His 6 seasons of averaging 22 or more points per game are also 2nd. His 4 seasons of averaging 20 or more points per game, 5 or more assists per game, and 4 or more rebounds per game are 2nd. His 3 seasons of averaging 20 or more points per game and 7 assists per game are 2nd. And with the notable games, these are totaled up between the playoffs and the regular season. His 15 games with 40 or more points are 2nd in Pistons history. His 95 10 or more assist games are also 2nd. His 99 double-doubles are 12th. His 3 triple-doubles are top 5. And Bing scored 54 points in a game. That is the 3rd most points scored in a game in Pistons history. Now, Bing was a great player, and he was deservingly inducted into the Hall of Fame, but unfortunately, his teams did not generally see a lot of success. The Pistons only made it to the playoffs 3 times during the Dave Bing era. But let's talk about his contributions to getting his team to the playoffs. In the 1967-68 season, he led the Pistons to a 40-42 record. 4 out of the 6 teams in the Eastern Division, which is what the Pistons were in at that time, made the playoffs. Bing led his team in points and assists and contributed 4.7 rebounds. Steals were not yet recorded during this year. In the 1973-74 season, Bing was able to help get the Pistons to a 52-30 record, and 4 out of the 9 teams in the Western Conference, which is what the Pistons were in that particular season, made the playoffs. Bing was second on his team with 18.8 points per game. He led his team in assists with 6.9, and he was fourth on his team, averaging 1.3 steals per game. In the 1974-75 season, 5 out of the 9 teams in the Western Conference made the playoffs. Bing was able to help get his team to a 40-42 record. He was second on the Pistons, averaging 19 points per game. He, of course, led the Pistons in assists, averaging 7.7, and he was first on the Pistons, averaging 1.5 steals per game. The Pistons made the playoffs 3 times during the Dave Bing era, and they failed to win a playoff series all 3 times. But let's go ahead and talk about how he did during those series. In the 1967-68 playoffs, the Pistons went up against a 54-28 Boston Celtics team. Bing averaged 28.2 points per game, 4.8 assists, and 4 rebounds, and shot 41% from the field. In the 1973-74 playoffs, the Pistons went against a 54-28 Chicago Bulls team. Bing averaged 18.9 points, 6 assists, and 3.7 rebounds, and shot 42% from the field. In the 1974-75 playoffs, the Pistons lost to a 43-39 Supersonics team, and Bing did not average as many points as he did in the prior series, but he got his assists up a lot, and those 9.7 assists per game are the most he averaged in a playoff series of these 3 series. He averaged 3.7 rebounds and 1.7 steals and shot 42.6% from the field. And I guess it's just unfortunate that the Dave Bing and Bob Lanier duo never really had as much success as they might have deserved to have. But with all of that said, Dave Bing most certainly has a case for being a top 10 Piston of all time, with or without the team success. Well, that will be all for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.